Hey guys, let me ask you this. Have you ever heard of Coros? By the way, the crickets and silence that you hear in your head there, totally normal stuff, nothing to be ashamed about, because up to a month and a half ago, I had no idea who Coros was either. But apparently, Coros is a smart fitness wearable brand along the same lines as Sunto and Garmin and Polar, and you probably heard of them before. And also, apparently, Coros is like a thing among triathletes and long distance runner types used by world record holders and Olympians and all those kind of fancy folk. But one day, Coros contacted me, and I was like, oh, yes, I'm finally recognized for my fitness prowess. But they were like quick to shoot that down. They were like, "Hey, we saw your channel and liked it." I was like, "All right, just tell me what you need and let's get this over with." So here we are with the Coros Pace 2, and let me see if my camera can pick this up and track this. There you go. Anyways, if you're in the market for a fitness tracker that is above, like, say, a Xiaomi Mi Fit Band or whatever it is, and you just want to up your fitness game, something that tracks things more accurately, you want to create a training plan, you want to improve your running cadence and your technique. And disclaimer, I don't prefer to run. I'm a climber and I like to swim and hike and kayak and such. And I thought this would be a great time to test this out, because if this watch says what it does, like train me to be a better runner, I want to see if this works and see what kind of data it provides. So if you're interested, want to check out a brand new fitness watch that's amazing, this thing brings a lot to the table, by the way. Let's find out after these messages. Let's check out the specs. No, not these specs, that specs. That one, right there. So if you're planning to buy this watch, it'll set you back $200. And in terms of price and specs, it pretty much puts it in direct line with the brand new Garmin Forerunner 55. And I hope to get my hands on this device sometime soon so I can do a review and maybe even a comparison in the future. Now, I want you guys to remember that these two devices are not smartwatches in the strictest sense, or the traditional sense that we see on this channel. They're fitness and sports focused primarily, and that's what they're good at doing. If you're shopping for a fitness tracker, it's a little bit on the high side in terms of price, but they're really good at what they do, providing the data and the tracking that you need. Now, when you compare this with the first gen Pace, there's not more processing power, way more RAM, and more storage. And storage is not for storing music or anything like that. It's just for expanding future features. Now, front and center, here's one of my favorite bits, is the 1.2-inch 240 by 240 always on LCD. That's protected by a layer of Corning glass, thank goodness. Now, it's not a touchscreen, and some of you might be also turned off by the mention of LCD, and I'll explain why I don't mind either of that exclusions in a bit. The weight is a really light 36 grams with this silicone strap. And for reference, the Garmin 55 goes for 37 grams, which I assume is also some kind of silicone strap. Now, if you option this watch with the nylon Velcro strap, it drops the weight down even more to 29 grams, which at launch at August 2020 made this watch the lightest watch on the planet. Water resistance is 50 meters. That means you can safely take this into the shower, into the pool, let alone taking this on a workout when you're sweaty. And also definitely open water swimming, like if you're doing triathlon training and such. Now, battery life from the factory is rated at 30 days. I think that's a little bit idealistic and probably just tested it in watch mode. Now, realistically though, I had this for a month and a half. I can easily get 16 days per charge with plenty to spare, with all notifications, haptics, and audible tones turned on, plus one 45-minute workout track thrown in per day. That's really impressive for a device this size and this caliber. Now, like any good fitness focus watch, you can pair accessories if you like via the N+ or Bluetooth protocols for added capabilities and data collection like heart rate sensors and such. In fact, Coros sells such a device, this thing called the Pod, or performance optimization device. It communicates, like I said, through Bluetooth or ANT is your choice. It costs $70 and it's targeted more at the runner types, and you'd have to wear this between your butt crack. Now, let's take a close-up look at the watch, and I'll tell you right off the bat, guys, this thing is really impressive. It balances the material choices and the quality and the lightness of the whole thing to a T. I was very apprehensive when I first took this out of the box, because anytime you advertise something that's really lightweight, you're kind of expecting the materials and everything, the build quality, to be kind of dinky and cheap. And sure, when you tap this thing, you hear how hollow it is. I'm not sure if you can hear that. You can hear it's hollow in the back, and I can even feel the springs as I get closer to the buttons. I can hear the springs vibrating in the background. So that's how light it is and hollow it is. But everything else is really well built. The material choices, the silicone right here is stretchy, but very, very comfortable on the wrist. I can wear this to match the battery life itself. The seams are nice and tight. And the plastic here that they use is a fiber reinforced polymer. Really, really nice stuff. This silicone strap, as we mentioned earlier, is not the lightest in the whole lineup. That honor goes to the nylon one. But this breathes really well with all these ventilation holes right here. And the PU itself is really nice and supple on my skin. Now, here on the free loop, there's a locking nut right there. So when you have this strapped around your wrist and you're locked in place, this access strap won't come flopping around. Now, the save weight too, the buckle is plastic as it should, but there's a really nice and generous locking prong right there. I'm not sure what the proper term is, but this prong right here is nice and wide. Usually it's really narrow to save weight, but I guess it's for added stability. So looking around the rest of the watch, you'll notice that it's all about simplicity and nothing too extraneous that weighs down the watch. In fact, even the sensor array is all about plastic. There's no glass here. There's a temperature sensor right there. The heart rate sending units are flanking that, as well as the receiver right in the middle. There's not even an SpO2 sensor here, blood saturation and all that such. Nothing here. Very simple stuff. The charging connectors right here. It's surrounded by this. It's not flush with the body, as you can see. I'm not sure you can see that. And so water does gather in there, so you have to make sure it's dry. And also over time, you would have to make sure that there's no gunk or dirt that gathers in the gap right there. That's kind of strange, but I think it's all about weight savings. Nice and clean in the back here. Right here is the barometric sensor. I'm not sure you can see that. And here is where you control the whole device. There's a crown, a rotating crown that does that, as well as a press button as well. So as we mentioned earlier, there's no touchscreen, and all the better for it in terms of what this is focused for. This screen, even though it doesn't have the latest AMOLED and such, and even for an LCD panel, it's a little bit on the lower resolution side. You can see some pixelation there. It's all about visibility, legibility, as well as power saving. Look at this. I can point this at the bright studio lights. I can still see the data that I need, and the colors are nice and bright and punchy. In bright sunlight is also where it's at. I can work out outdoors, swim outdoors when the screen is wet. I can lift this up to my wrist and still see the data that I need. That's really impressive, and that's really what you need in a fitness watch. Navigating around the watch with these two buttons alone is pretty straightforward. The learning curve is really not that high, guys. For example, when I rotate the crown from the main screen here, it takes you on this carousel of data points like your summary of your day, your heart rate, your calories, and even your notifications from Gmail and WhatsApp and what's not. You can't reply to these. The only thing that you can reply to or respond to is phone calls. There will be an accept and reject function, as far as I know anyway. And by the way, every time I rotate the crown half a turn, it scrolls the screen once, or one screen item. So that's the pace that it sets to. And it does speed things up though when you change things like time and seconds for alarms and all that, or when you set your timer. So that's a really well judged thing on Coros's part. Now, let me go back to notifications here. Now, in this kind of screen, for any kind of screen, when you tap the crown once, it acts like an enter button, and when you tap the bottom one, it acts like a back button, so it takes you back to the home screen. At the home screen, if you tap the crown again, it gives you access to all 13 of the workouts, as well as settings and also training plans. And the training plans are set up in the app, and I'll show you that in a second. Now, back at the home screen, if you hold down the bottom button, it takes you to quick settings as well as functions. And you can do things like turn on the night mode, so if you're working out when it's dark out and you want to be able to see the screen all the time, it'll turn on the night light or backlighting all the time. And there are other things like metronome, where you can set the pace. You can turn it on for music or even cadence of your run and such. Other things too, you can set up Ultramax, which is basically an extended battery kind of system. So if you're tracking your sports and you turn on Ultramax, it will kind of shut off GPS for a while and turn it back on again to save battery, and it'll use its algorithm to figure out where you have been or where you are. You can also check out your satellite signal, and also, basic functions like stopwatches and timers and such. Now, one thing about GPS though, let me go to settings and show you this. This is pretty darn cool. Under settings, under system, let's go here. You can actually set your GPS to different kind of whatever GPS you want. So there's the default GPS QZSS GLONASS, or you can switch it to Beidou, which is really a nice option depending on where you are. If you're traveling, that's really a nice option to have. Within the settings also, you can set basic things up like which wrist you're wearing this watch on, the left or right. You can flip the screen even. Yes, you can flip the screen. If you like the buttons on the left, you can flip it 180, and it does does the same thing when you're setting up the watch for the first time. So that's really nice and thoughtful. You can set up the gesture of the backlighting. Although in here I do wish, right here, look at this, it sets it up for auto or just a preset sunset and sunrise kind of setting. I wish you can define the time specifically. So Coros, if you're listening, let's get that option in here. You can pair your accessories like your end devices, like your pod right there. And the other thing too is also the watch faces. You're probably interested in that maybe, but the watch faces is really expensive. There's 5 pre-stored on the watch and a lot more on the app itself, and they don't look hideous. That's the thing. They're really nice. And each time you select a watch face, by the way, you can get to select the color tone of it. So that's nice and powerful, and the fact that they look nice is a plus to me. One thing that you don't really see in smartwatches is the ability to calibrate your sensors, or all of it. Like here in this case, you can calibrate the heart rate sensor, the barometric sensor, the elevation, the compass. So that's nice and powerful. So if you go to some place where you're like, oh, that's off, you can just calibrate it. The other thing too is that you can change the workout interface. So if you're a person who like high contrast backgrounds when you're checking your workout when you're running, like a white background, you can set it that way. If you like it to auto scroll, you can set it that way too, and turn on and off your notifications by default. So that's very convenient. Anyway, let's quickly drill down my top favorite things about the Pace 2. And the first one is focus. This thing is a fitness watch, fitness tracker first and foremost. That's its mission, and it excels in it with the data collection that it has, from running to cycling to rowing to even track running. If you're running on 8 different lanes and you switch at any time, it knows what the distance you ran and it adjusts accordingly. That's how nuanced and that's how detailed it gets. The accuracy is pretty spot on. The battery life and the durability and the lightness of it makes this a perfect training companion. Unlike some other smartwatches out there that just like focus on, hey, I can do 200 sports, but then when you look at the data it collects, it's all like same old, you know? So this watch is really good at what it does. And by the way, guys, tell me honestly, if you're not tired of all the short battery life that the smartwatches get nowadays, 2 days, 1.5 days, it's ridiculous. This thing, 16 to 20 days, heck yeah, man, I'll take it anytime. So some of you may recall that I own a couple of Amazfit watches, the first being the Bip and the second one is, I still daily this, is the Verge. And the reason why I enjoy them so much is for their size and their capability and their battery life especially. They're super comfortable to wear on my wrist. The way the battery cap is designed, they spread the weight out on the wrist, and that's really the key. The Pace 2 is no different. I can wear this for the whole 16 days. It's really good. It's perfect for an athlete. And if you slap on the nylon strap, 29 grams, that's like wearing a, I don't know, unicorn feather on your wrist or something. And my last positive is I always enjoyed the underdog, especially ones that tries to perform really well and strives to do their best. And Coros is one of them. With the Pace 2, they've improved from their previous models, and they're constantly chasing the competition and improving their products, and also offering them at a very competitive price. Don't forget, this thing is $199 and the pod is $70, and for the capabilities, it's really hard to beat. The Coros app displays its information pretty readily, primarily on the first 2 tabs of the 4 that you see at the bottom here. The first tab is the home screen and holds your daily matrices and goals. And if there's a training plan scheduled like I do, it'll be at the top here reminding you to basically just get off your lazy butt and get it done already. Swiping left brings you back in time. Completed calories and exercise time markers are represented at the top here by yellow and red rings. And if you tap the top row again, it brings you back to the current date. Pretty nifty stuff. The workout tab next to the first one displays all your tracked items, and let me show you real quick the different run specific matrices that the Pace 2 and the pod accessory captures individually. Now the first one is from the Pace 2. You can see it captured this and this hike, and you know, it overlays the map, and you can just change the different map overlays. Pretty nifty stuff. You can upload this and share this, and it's very, very detailed as much as you want it. If you need more help on what each of these mean, you can tap the information icon. But the watch specifically captures for run specific matrices. It captures pace, cadence, stride length, and running power. Now let me go back out to the next one. This one was captured with the pod. Now, the pod adds other information like ground time, left-right balance, stride ratio, stride height, and form power. Now, since the pod doesn't have other sensors, so it's really up to the watch to capture your usual heart rate, elevation, and such. That's why I don't see it here. Tapping on any of the graphs takes you to a full screen version, and I wish in this case it doesn't lock the orientation to the left like this. I wish you can just either choose what you want. I'm not sure about Apple versions, but on Android it does this. So Pardon me, you have to crane your neck to view this part. But here in each of the graphs, you can filter in more information as well as you need, which is really convenient. I really also wish I can pinch to zoom so I can see, like in this case, what my stride is like at specific workout times. Now, one weird quirk of this workout tab, let me go back out here to the main screen here. One weird thing about the workout tabs, if I tap all workouts at the top here, you'll see a lot of activities not supported by this watch, like hiking, mountain climbing, and even a bunch of winter sports right down here. Are these unused placeholders for other Coros watches, or something to be added down the line? The next tab over, I call this the Shield tab because it looks like one. The important bits here are workout programs and training plans. Basically, you can create new ones from scratch or upload them from the Coros website, for example. And so if you see something that you like there, you can scan its QR code with the scanner at the top here. That's the icon right there at the top. It's then transferred to the watch. Now, here's a list of third-party services you can pair this app with. It's quite a bunch there, right? Now, the device tab, the last one, houses settings-related items for your Coros devices, like customizing your watch menus or which phone apps you want to receive notifications from or not. Pretty basic stuff, but it's all here. So, it wasn't long after I started using this watch when I realized that certain data points and information that I've long taken for granted on other smartwatches, like even the lowly cheap Wise watch has them. Until I started using this, I was like, wait a minute, that's a huge omission. Case in point, sleep tracking information. It's accessible on the app, but not on the watch. It takes all the data, but I can't see historical data on it. What's up with that? The other one is, well, to a smaller degree, calendar. Some of you may or may not care about that. The other one, big one for me, is weather too. It doesn't show weather on the watch face, let alone a widget. I know this can be fixed on a firmware update, so Coros, if you're listening to it, maybe you can add that on in the future. The last negative has to do with the screen, and I'm being nitpicky here because earlier I mentioned that this is visible and legible and super punchy, the colors, and really nice and bright in bright daylight, and that's really all that matters to me. But if you really want to nitpick, I think the LCD tech is a little bit old. It's kind of blocky here and there, the resolution is not the best, it's like it's from the 90s or something. So yeah, that's my only nitpick about the screen, but you know, some people may be turned off by that, so I thought I'll mention it anyway. This Coros Pace 2, I'll tell you what, is an amazing piece of kit. It's accurate, it's powerful, it collects all kinds of data under the sun that you need, it's durable, it's bloody light as well, the battery seems to last forever and ever, and the screen, for its simplicity, I'm just in love with it. And this thing is versatile as a whole package as well, not just as an activity device, but potentially as a daily timepiece if you so choose. Now, if you pair the watch with the pod accessory especially, the data that it spits out is exemplary. It just opens things up so much more, especially if you're a runner, and I think it will help you train better. And if you're targeting something like a marathon or ultra marathon or triathlon, this will take your game to the next level, I think. Now, on the flip side, there exists the brand new Garmin Forerunner 55. It's just as capable in its own sort of Garmin way with its own strengths and weaknesses, but is priced identical, $199 with the Pace 2, which means more options for all of us in this price range and category. But with that being said, I definitely recommend that you check out the Pace 2 as well as the Pod. The links are down below. This is hands down one of my favorite watches I've ever tested on this channel. It's really that good. So I want to give this a gear up score of 8.8 out of 10, and this is how I broke it down to get to the final score. If you have any questions about it, feel free to comment down below. Yes. Wow, it suddenly got really dark outside. It was sunny 1 second here, and now I'm just surrounded by storm clouds. I think it's safe to say we're gonna get some rain. But that aside, I'm so glad you have been here. I'm so glad you joined me today. Thank you for watching. Please come back next week for a couple more videos. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel. Show your support, help me grow this channel. Mash and kill the button down below and tell your friends and family about it. And thumbs up if you like this video as well, and comment nicely down below. And if you haven't already too, if you're financially able to and would like to support my channel here to Patreon, you can visit there and buy me a cup of coffee or tea or something, or leave me a tip. Now, remember to do something nice and kind and loving for somebody in this world, because the world needs it more than ever, and it starts with you. And I hope to see you next time, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I love you very much. Peace out.